What if women were in charge of politics?
Topic preview. Audio and captions begin shortly. What if the secret to a thriving global economy is actually hidden behind the heavy, locked doors of the old boys club? It turns out, for women, breaking those barriers does more than just fill seats. It creates a growth premium that finishes more projects and keeps corruption at bay. From the village roads of India to the halls of power in Tanzania, visible female leadership is sparking a ripple effect that closes the ambition gap for the next generation. By trading rigid hierarchies for collaborative power, these female leaders are bringing the private sphere into the light, prioritizing clean water, public health, and a lasting peace over the old ways of militarism. It's a high-stakes journey across glass cliffs and double standards, but the result is a world reshaped by an ethics of care.
Imagine you are on a high-stakes group project, right? And like half your team has just been benched for centuries.
Completely sidelined.
Exactly, just sitting there on the bench. So what actually happens to the group dynamic, and I guess the final output, when that benched half finally takes the lead?
Right, like do you get utopia, or do they just play the exact same rigged game?
Yeah, that is exactly what we are looking at today. Welcome to the deep dive. We are jumping into what the data, UN reports, academic research, historical analyses, what it all actually says about a world where women are in charge of politics.
And looking at those UN reports, the output of the group changes in, well, a few very specific ways. Like, there is a super strong correlation between female representation in government and much lower overall corruption.
Wow, really? Lower corruption across the board.
Yeah, but the real divergence is how the budgets get allocated. The money tends to move straight toward public health, education, and access to clean water.
Right, like that data from India we looked at. Female leaders there significantly increased access to high-quality latrines in rural areas.
It is huge.
Yeah.
And it basically comes down to proximity.
Yeah.
I mean, leaders historically prioritize whatever sectors they are closest to, right?
Makes a lot of sense.
So because women have been, systemically confined to managing domestic and community economies, their policy priorities naturally skew toward public health and sanitation infrastructure when they take office.
It is like a boots-on-the-ground perspective.
Yeah.
Which I guess translates directly to crisis management, too.
Oh, absolutely. Think about the COVID-19 pandemic.
Yeah, Finland's prime minister at the time, Sanna Marin, she totally bypassed the traditional top-down authority thing.
Exactly. She recruited social media influencers to spread public health info.
Which is so smart, meeting people where they actually are, and it kept their early death tolls remarkably low.
Right. And Marin's tactic maps perfectly onto how female crisis leadership functions psychologically. It relies way more on lateral collaborative networks instead of vertical command chains.
Okay, but I have to push back a little here on this idea of, natural crisis management.
Sure, go for it.
Is it really an innate skill? Or are we just looking at the glass cliff phenomenon? Like, are women putting out fires just because they are usually only handed the steering wheel when the car is already crashing?
Well, you would think it is just the glass cliff, right? They're just handed a sinking ship. But the data actually isolates for that.
Wait, it does?
Yeah. Even when controlling for how severe a crisis is, female-led administrations resolve them faster. Their communication channels are just more decentralized.
So they are pulling information from more diverse sources.
Exactly, which allows for much quicker, adaptable responses.
Okay, so if the baseline data points to peace and collaboration,
Right.
how do we explain the whole Iron Lady paradox?
Oh, right, the historical hawks.
Yeah, like Margaret Thatcher, Indira Gandhi, Golda Meir. I mean, these were leaders who actively led their countries into major wars.
They did not just participate, right? They initiated really decisive, aggressive military actions. I mean, Thatcher sinking the General Belgrano cruiser during the Falklands War.
Or Gandhi orchestrating the 1971 war with Pakistan.
Exactly. The primatologist Jane Goodall actually pointed out that power corrupts absolutely, meaning women wield absolute authority with the exact same capacity for ruthlessness as men.
Right. And you see that play out in modern bureaucracy, too, not just war. Look at the data from the EU Council negotiations.
Oh, that study is fascinating.
It really is. It shows women negotiators actually demonstrate less flexibility and are way less likely to propose compromises than their male counterparts.
Which completely flips the stereotype on its head.
It really does. Why is that?
Well, the mechanism driving that inflexibility is purely structural. Because women are heavily penalized for any perceived weakness, They enter these negotiations with strictly defined red lines.
They literally cannot afford the political cost of conceding ground.
Exactly. So the whole mechanism of compromise breaks down.
Right.
They are forced to adopt these super rigid stances just to maintain authority among their peers.
I mean, that highlights the ultimate double standard, doesn't it? Women have to overcompensate and act aggressive just to survive in a hyper-masculine political system.
Yeah, the environment practically demands traditional toughness.
Right, meaning the system often changes the woman before she can ever really change the system.
So while women prioritize vital social infrastructure and bring those lateral collaborative perspectives to the table, they are still operating within an established matrix of power that, well, it just was not built for them.
It deeply complicates the idea that more women automatically equals world peace. They are still forced to navigate a completely rigged game.
They really are.
Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive. But before you go, we want to leave you with a final thought to mull over.
Yeah. If a critical mass of women finally achieved absolute political power globally, would they eventually dismantle those aggressive, hierarchical systems entirely?
Or would the seductive nature of absolute power simply create a new matrix of female-led oppression? When that permanently benched half of the team finally takes over the project completely, do they rewrite the rules or just play the exact same game?
Hi, thanks for watching. If you want more videos like this, please subscribe to my channel. Bye.